was just sleeping. My friend just wake me up. He said, hey, let's go. There's a bomb coming to Hawaii. I didn't take it serious, but, I just started running. We went to this other place, it's a concrete building. People were just running on the street. They were all desperate. So, yeah, that was not funny at all. The guy had one job, right, and he messed up. So that's crazy. Hawaii is the first place they're going to drop a bomb. It's crazy, Living here, it's awesome, but at the same time, you're not feeling, secure all the time.
It's a procedure that occurs at the change of shift where they go through to make sure that the system is working and an employee pushed the wrong button.
You can only imagine what kicked in where people start questioning. Over 1 million people in my state of Hawaii are being faced with the reality that they've got 15 minutes to find a place to take shelter.
We put the baby in the bathroom, didn't know what else to do.
Reaction to Saturday's false ballistic missile alert in Hawaii was a sobering reality check, and not just for that state.
It exposes tremendous gaps in our preparedness and planning.
We're up on a mountain and we almost fell off of it trying to get to our children.
People pulling over in tunnels, confused tourists hunkering down in hotels.
People are hiding in tunnels, people are locking down their homes, they're heading for the mountains.
One mother saying her daughter was away at a slumber party when the alert went out.
And so she calls me because they're all getting the alert and she's like, Mom, what are we supposed to do? And I'm like, all right, stay there. If something happens, no matter what, do not leave that house.
Families filling up their bathtubs with water and stocking up on supplies.
Panic and chaos in Hawaii after that emergency alert sounded across the islands just after 8 a.m. local time. Residents seen running for cover, families hiding in bomb shelters. Take a listen.
This is not a drill. Take immediate action measure.
The dire warning of a ballistic missile threat buzzing on cell phones stripped across television screens. Residents told to seek immediate shelter. Quote, this is not a drill. It took 38 minutes for some people to get the all clear. The message, a human error false alarm. And it comes just weeks after Hawaii reinstated a Cold War era missile alert system in the event of an attack by North Korea following Kim Jong-un's repeated tests.
But it took nearly 40 minutes before a second public alert went out indicating a false alarm. During the confusion at Honolulu Airport Saturday, a reporter from Australia's ABC News tweeted this anecdote from a colleague. No one had any answers. There was no announcement over the airport or airline PAs at any time. One staff member said, our manager told us to pray. December marked the first test of Hawaii's siren warning system since the Cold War era. Hawaii's emergency management agency says a cancellation button has now been created for false alarms. But the question is whether federal and state emergency officials would be ready if the launch were real.
I love that they took responsibility. They took total responsibility, but we're going to get involved.
On Sunday, Trump said the government was looking into the incident. The FCC later said that the state did not have adequate safeguards in place to prevent a false emergency alert about a missile attack.
Japan's public broadcaster raised a false alarm about a North Korean missile test. It comes just days after a similar mistake in Hawaii. Japan has been preparing for an attack from North Korea. The broadcaster sent a push alert to users of its disaster prevention app, warning them of an imminent launch from Kim Jong-un's regime. But soon after, NHK said the warning was raised incorrectly and it apologized. The false alarm in Japan is a sign of increased tension over North Korea's military aggression. Pyongyang fired intercontinental ballistic missiles towards Japan and fired missiles over Japan's territory in 2017.
Breaking this morning, another false alert about a nuclear attack. This time, not in Hawaii, but in Japan. And that country's national broadcaster is apologizing on air. John Northcott has the details this morning. John.
Yes, Heather. NHK at various times has to warn people about a possible nuclear test because we've seen the North Koreans fly missiles over Japanese airspace. They also warn about volcanoes, tsunami, typhoons, and earthquakes. Let's have a look at the warning that went out to those who have the NHK mobile phone app, warning them that there was a nuclear launch attack had taken place. So we'll give you the translation as well, just to give you an idea of the wording of it all that went out. We should point out it went out and was quickly retracted. It wasn't the case that we saw in Hawaii, where it lasted for some 38 minutes before there was a correction sent out. Here it is here. North Korea appears to have launched a missile. The government urges people to take shelter inside buildings or underground. So very rapidly, within a matter of moments, we understand, they quickly came out and said, sorry, mistake. Sorry about that, won't happen again, and that was essentially how they did it. A J alert is a system that they have, and a system that is tested, in fact, just the other day in Fukuoka in the country, a major municipal and urban area. They conducted a full-on test where they actually sent out an alert like that. People sheltered in place as if there was an actual nuclear attack had taken place. So it is very much on the minds of the Japanese. We saw, of course, on Saturday, the situation in Hawaii, a place not unfamiliar, at least in its history, with attacks, and we saw the 38-minute delay in the correction of that. We understand they have instituted policies now. There won't be one person in charge of sending out the alert, and they are reviewing the entire process. Heather?
People in closets, people with children in the sewers. I mean, it was 38 minutes of terror, John, that certainly nobody wants to live through. So you have been looking into the whole question of whether we could ever see something similar, a false alarm, here in our country.
Well, of course, we have alert systems in this country. You have a variety of them. For example, you think of Amber Alerts. There are warnings that could take place. The folks at the Weather Network, in fact, are involved in this in terms of taking warnings from various levels of government, processing them, and then distributing them out to broadcasters to send out there. One gentleman from the Weather Network describes how it works. Have a listen.
There's steps to make sure that they validate and confirm that this is indeed the alert they want to send out. The alert issuer can also add some content or text with that canceled message that can provide further clarifications.
So that is the process we have in this country. It's not the fact of one person just pressing a button. There are several people involved in that, and then there is a chance to quickly clarify. And in fact, countries that do have civil warning systems, many, if not most, do around the world. And this is why the Hawaii situation is so remarkable in that it was able to, for well over half an hour, sit out there, people panicking without it being corrected. Most countries have systems in place that they can turn it around a little faster than they did in Hawaii.
Some breaking news you might not believe out of Japan. Minutes ago, Japan's national broadcaster, NHK, sent a false text alert reporting North Korea had launched yet another missile. CNN's Paula Hancock's live for us in Seoul. Paula, what do we know?
Well, Dave, you really couldn't make this up. This has come just within the last hour, just before 7 o'clock. The national broadcaster in Japan, NHK, sent out a text alert which said North Korea likely to have launched missile. The government J alert, evacuate inside the building or underground. Now, this J alert has been activated in recent months as North Korea has fired ballistic missiles over the top of Japan. So certainly people react to these messages in Japan. But then very quickly afterwards, they corrected themselves, saying the news alert sent earlier about North Korean missile was a mistake. No government J alert was issued. So coming just a few days after there was a similar incident in Hawaii, an alert sent out saying that a ballistic missile was on its way to that area and people should seek cover. It is really quite surprising, but of course that did take 38 minutes to correct. NHK far quicker in being able to correct its mistake. In fact, in their main 7 o'clock bulletin, the main broadcaster had to say, I made a mistake. This is not what happened. But of course, it will make people in Japan jumpy. As I say, this has happened before. There have been J alerts, and it has not been a mistake. There have been North Korean missiles either heading towards Japan or going over the top of Japan. So 2 in just a few days. It's really quite remarkable.
Another false alarm associated with North Korea, and not just any Japanese broadcaster, but the main public TV channel network, the NHK. And it came across not just on iPhone or phone apps, but also on the internet website of the Japanese broadcaster. It happened just about 5 minutes before 7 in the morning today, and it read in part, North Korea appears to have launched a missile. The government urges people to take shelter inside buildings or underground. Now, 5 minutes later, the network went on air and online and corrected it and apologized for it. But again, you got to believe not before a few people in Japan were alarmed. There have, in fact, been government warnings in the past when North Korea has sent missiles either in the direction of or over Japan. No reason was given for today's false alarm.
Another false alarm about a North Korean missile launch issued Tuesday, this time in Japan from its national public broadcaster NHK, just 3 days after a similar alert caused panic in Hawaii. The false alarm in Japan was corrected within minutes, faster than the near 40-minute correction in Hawaii, but it was not immediately clear what triggered this latest terrifying mistake. On Saturday, residents of Hawaii freaked out when they saw a similar message on their phones.
An employee pushed the wrong button.
In a televised apology, Hawaii's governor said their false alarm occurred during an employee shift change at the Hawaii Emergency Management Agency. According to their spokesman, the employee who mistakenly sent the missile alert had been temporarily reassigned to other duties. The false alarms in Japan and Hawaii take place amid heightened tensions over the rise of North Korea's nuclear missile program. In November, the Hermit Kingdom said it had successfully tested a new type of intercontinental ballistic missile that could not only reach Hawaii but also all of the U.S. mainland.